so we're going to go ahead and get started on our monthly meeting. Welcome to the, it's almost hard to say, the April 2026 Land Bank meeting. The year is passing quickly as we're into the first day of the month of April. As is our tradition, I'm going to ask, we go around the table and introduce ourselves. I'm Chris Johnson. I am the chairman of the Augusta, Georgia Land Bank, and I'm going to ask this gentleman over here to my left, if you just tell me your name and who you're with, and that'll be it. Okay.
Susan with the Augusta Press.
I'm Ray Thompson. I'm representing myself, but also Mental Health America and Colleague Georgia. We support homelessness and just have an interest.
Thanks.
Sean Edwards with the Land Bank.
John Manton, attorney at the Land Bank.
Madison Stevens, Deputy Administrator.
Patrick Bass, Deputy Director for Planning Board.
Scott Roundtree, a board member, and Chief Appraiser for the tax assessors.
Donna Moran, here.
James Riley, Sandfield Restoration Project.
All right, thank you. Board members, you should have received a copy of the meeting minutes from our March 4th meeting. If you have not had an opportunity to take a look at those meetings for any corrective items, please do so. If you have, then please someone give me a motion from the floor.
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made by Mr. Scott Roundtree and properly seconded by Mr. Shavate Vassar to approve the meeting minutes from March 4th. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay.
I can't vote.
You can. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to call for that vote again. Before I do so, let me, Maddie Sue has already introduced herself, but what I should have told you is she is the official designee for the administrator's office. The administrator is one of the members of the Land Bank, and so Maddie Sue is serving as the designee for the administrator's office. So I'm going to ask for that vote again. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, moving on to item 2B of the agenda. Approve request from Sand Hills Restoration Project for the land bank foreclosure assistance on a parcel located at 740 Fleming Avenue for construction of single-family housing. Ms. Jones.
Yes, so Mr. Riley is here today. He has done development at 744 Fleming Avenue. He's requesting foreclosure on this parcel to continue his development. We did get approval through the tax commissioner's office that the property is able to be foreclosed on. If you look at our price sheet, before we get to our price sheet, actually, he has to notice when you're up to the condition of the home, inside and outside. And we also have some photos of the before and after development of the before Fleming Avenue. And then after that, you should make your way back to the price sheet where you see that he has paid the full amount of our down payment, foreclosure fee for the application of admin. He is asking for a delinquent taxes to be extinguished. They come up to $3,187.92. And he is requesting a reduction on the fair market value. The current fair market value is $24,000. He is requesting $18,000 for the parcel. Totals are at the bottom. Surrounding the action.
As Ms. Jones said, we developed 744 Fleming in 2019. It's now our primary residence. I also own 742 Fleming Avenue, and we pull permits for that in 2 weeks' time to develop that property. In terms of price comparisons, the parcel at 742, I just appealed the value of that property because it is not livable at this time. I was successful in that appeal. Very little argument in that not livable is in much better condition than the condition of 740 Fleming Avenue. I've never done this type of transaction before, and so in terms of my initial capital outlay, one of the things I've got to be concerned about is the unknown unknowns. What's going to happen when I start opening these walls if this transaction is successful? I already know that there's a massive hole in the roof, and that is compromising the interior structure. To what extent? I don't know. I was in the property a number of years ago before the previous resident passed away. Sadly, at that time, that house really wasn't fit for human habitation, even though there was an old lady living there. But when she passed a couple of years ago, the house has gone into further disrepair without any repairs to that roof. Weather is just getting inside. There is no working kitchen at all. There wasn't even when she was living there.
Board members, do you have any questions? And just arriving a few moments ago is Mr. Ryan Downs, who's also a board member. For those of you who did not know Ryan.
First, I guess one question, the pictures you provided of 740 Fleming, are these recent or from the prior visit when you were there?
So they are recent. There is no back door, so I was able to put the camera in, and that is the previous kitchen. What was the kitchen? Previous resident, again, since passed away. They just ignored the hole in the roof, it seems, and they took the refrigerator, moved it into the dining room, and just locked the doorway between the dining room and the kitchen, and just basically lived in the rest of the house while the back of the house was continuing to deteriorate even when she was living there. So that's the pictures I was able to get. So they're incredibly recent, yes, sir. And all the exterior obviously is recent. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And make a motion to approve at the counter offer.
Counter for what?
Motion has been made by Mr. Scott Roundtree and seconded by Mr. Shabate Vassar to accept the offer from Sand Hills Restoration Project to foreclose on the parcel located at 740 Fleming Avenue for the total price of $23,500. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Item 2C, approve request from Eddie L. McNair Jr. to purchase land bank parcel located at 1266 Anderson Avenue for recombination with 1268 Anderson Avenue. Ms. Jones.
Yes, so I want to honestly just take you right to the price sheet. This parcel alone is developable unless someone wants to go on next to it, which our applicant does. The goal is to recombine it and utilize the parcel. His offer price, he has paid the full down payment is $1,400. He is hoping to extinguish the lot cleanup fee for $517.50. And then he's offering 50% of the fair market value, which is standard for adjacent property owners. So that would be $600 on the $1,200 assessed value. I also just noticed that parcel is on our excess list as well, so I didn't include that in your packet, but I did find that list here. It's the first one on our excess list, so staff is running the rules.
And Ms. Jones, if you will remind us of what the excess list is.
Yes, so the excess list is a list of properties. So about 2 years ago, prior to this, I went through all of our properties. I identified what was buildable, what would be profitable to a developer versus what would make no sense to adjacent property owner. And we add that to the excess parcels list. And the goal is to liquidate some of those properties that are not like in the future. It's not something that and we
Board members, questions, comments?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Scott Roundtree and properly seconded by Mr. Ryan Downs to accept the offer from Mr. Eddie L. McNair Jr. to purchase the land bank property located at 1266 Anderson Avenue for the price of $2,000. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, items for discussion. Mr. Manton, will give us the update on our foreclosures and our donations list.
Nothing to report on donations, as we've not had any as of late. As far as the foreclosures, we had a successful 13 hearings yesterday. All were approved by Judge Flight, so we'll be moving to the next phase of those 13. You'll see those on your list. The last ones are listed as a March 31st hearing date. Those will be on the May sale, first Tuesday of May. That's all I have.
Mr. Edwards, did you have some new business for presentation?
Yes, sir, but we would also ask if the board would consider adding an additional item in the approval request section. We've received notification from the tax commissioner's office that we can move forward with the foreclosure, so we're asking if the board would add an item for consideration.
Okay.
So the
Do we have
two items we're adding?
This is one item in that section, the other item is for discussion.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad, sir.
Do we have
Yeah, we
any
need a motion.
objections? Any objections to the item we had?
Real quick.
John, do I need to do a formal motion for that addition?
Ryan made a motion. I don't know if anyone.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Motion has been made by Mr. Ryan Downs, and properly seconded by, Maddie Sue, what's your last name? Stevens, okay, I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Properly seconded by Ms. Maddie Sue Stevens to add an additional item for approval on the agenda. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the land bank is requesting board approval in order to move forward with two foreclosures, one at 1528 Piquette Avenue and one at 907 Gordon Street. You're currently receiving the addendum for the agenda so that we can make sure that it is also public record. Both properties have been cleared by TCO for foreclosure for multiple years, and they currently complement a area in the Twig Circle development node. HCD currently has 16 parcels within that development node circling Parks Avenue. And we want to be able to complement that development with these two foreclosure or tax delinquent properties. As you can see, 907 Gordon sits right in the midst of what they own. So they have acquired everything on the frontage of Twig Circle, going from Parks Avenue down to where they created McQueen Court, where they built and sold their affordable housing developments. But it's an impediment to being able to have full site control of the block. 1528 Piquette complements that on the back end. That's where some properties had to be acquired in order to have access to active sewer. And so that project has not moved because we need to have really the entirety of the project in order to be able to redistribute those front lots. The desire for that, although HCD has not indicated that they have a developer at this time, was to reappropriate those front-facing lots so they can align better with the street as they did on the other side, and then to be able to extend back and have some additional property surrounding Parks, Robin, and Piquette. So we sent that request over to the TCO office. 907 and 1528, again, both are multiple years delinquent and they have been approved. So staff is asking for board approval to move forward with those two foreclosures as land banks.
And those foreclosures, if approved, those properties would go into the land bank inventory?
That is correct.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Ryan Downs and properly seconded by Mr. Scott Roundtree to approve the foreclosure of 907 Gordon Street and 1528 Piquette Avenue for the purpose of going into the land bank inventory. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, at this time, item of new business, a presentation by Mr. Edwards. And I'll just say, Sean, that because of all the noise we got out there,
Yep.
put you outside for us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do my best. I don't project well, but I'm gonna push it out. So thank you all again. I just wrote down a couple of comments about the packet that you have in front of you. I took some crazy idea that the land bank had the ability in order to be able to help residents better understand how to do development. And that's how we've been working with every single customer. We sit down, we investigate their project through our application process. We make sure that what they're trying to do is compliant with code, compliant with zoning. We investigate their banking relationship to make sure they have the viability, not only to buy the property from us, but also to fund what they do. And this body has been comfortable with instituting even requirements on timelines to be able to turn those projects, because on the front end, we're doing the due diligence to make sure you're not just moving property out of the land bank to be held, but to be developed so it can increase in value, create more tax revenue to be collected and distributed to the city. The hope and ambition is to take that and take it to its next level. And so the next iteration was our land development conference. Once a year, we started to bring in approximately 180 to 200 persons that wanted to utilize the tool that is the Land Bank Authority and learn how to do development. We introduced them to banking partners, we introduced them to builders and developers and investors so that they can begin to build those cohorts and teams they needed to move larger scale projects through. And each year we've added to that conference by increasing the expectation on the investor. We started with single family faith-based organizations wanting to build affordable housing. We've inevitably in our last year grew to the point where we have multifamily investors looking at small scale projects. We think this is the next step in that to ensure that we don't lose the everyday citizen. Right now, we're facing an affordable housing crisis across the country, and everyone's trying to throw their own hat at it. But we think that the way that you help to elevate a community is grassroots level. You build the people and they'll fix the problems. So we don't want to abandon individuals that want to buy a lot and build a house to reside in as we push to increase knowledge. Parcels to Portfolio is our attempt to be able to do that. We will start a virtual online class with the help of our attorney to ensure there's no liability on the land bank for fulfilling project. But we'll start a virtual online class to teach those basics that become our conversations at the table. Be it a walk-in sitting with Ms. Jones or a phone call to me or email, normally it's how do you do as opposed to what should I do? Because we don't tell people how to spend their money, but we always walk them through the steps. This is what a performer is. This is what the schedule is like. This is how you procure your subcontractors. This is how you maintain schedule. Well, those things have become so rudimentary and fundamental in how we operate that we now actually sit at our state level conference and national level conferences as a small land bank, teaching other land banks how to go customer by customer. Well, let's conglomerate all of them into one group and build cohorts so that they can hold each other accountable as they move through this process, so that they can assist one another in their learning and they can achieve outcomes together. Parcels to Portfolio will be our same subject matter experts, primarily locally, working in a virtual format once a week over an 8-week period with a pre-course kickoff and then a post-course graduation, where those families will learn those basics of how do you manage a project and get it funded. In addition to that, we're going to invite our local financial institutions, many of which have been partners at our conferences in the past, to work with those customers who are getting qualified so that they then have financial capacity to do the project. And as a reward of going through the training, we're going to work through our excess parcels list and some other potential acquisitions in order to make land available so the project can then manifest. The hope and ambition is at the end, when we go into this year's conference, that we will have a graduating class of individuals that not only have title to a piece of property or are prepared to take title, have the financial ability in order to do their project from an education standpoint, but also have their bank financing in place. And now they're going into the conference to meet the people who they'll hire, the professional service persons that will work to get their project built. We're gonna have a combination of individuals. Some will be investors looking at small multifamily because they wanna have a house, but also have a rental unit, duplex, triplex, which still fits under FHA conventional as a single family home. And some are gonna just build a straight house, but they'll have the knowledge and the tools. Another thing that we thought was key, and I wanna take a quick moment. I thank Ms. Jones all the time, but I wanna thank her specifically in front of the body, which I think I sent this as a text, might have been an email. Because my crazy ideas be post-it notes and pieces of a text message and email chains. And she was able to compile all of that into a real course program with a syllabus so that you can have real structure. Because now we're going to be introducing, with board approval of this item, we're going to be introducing this to the community as a way that you not only can get a land bank parcel, but understand what to do before you enter into the transaction. It's not getting on my schedule or walking in her door. This education changes it. And we're asking that it's not for the individual, it's for the household. We want mom and dad and kids to be a part of the course. So at this point, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let Ms. Jones walk you through the information that's in front of you so she can expound on the structure of the program.
Like Director Edwards said, our goal is to introduce novices to real estate investing and development through the land bank. In short, without reviewing all of this, the goal is to take new investors' skills and knowledge to go through the full development cycle. And we plan to do this with the help of subject matter experts, hands-on tasks, and weekly deliverables. At the end, participants will graduate at the annual Land Development Conference. The next slide kind of gives a breakdown of the format, as well as the syllabus you have, and the rest of this presentation. There will be 8 weekly virtual sessions. We'll have reading assignments, deliverables, we'll have deliverables for the team in the program. So we're really excited to kick this off. So before we start the course, we'll ask participants or applicants rather, what kind of development they want to do, what they're interested in, what area they're interested in. We have identified some parcels from our access list that already have clear title on them. And those will be the parcels that we allow our participants to pick from. It will be, the application process will be on a first come, first served basis, so we're not going to pick our favorite people in the course. Whoever applies, we'll interview them and get them started. So I'm going to go week by week. I'm not going to review everything off the slide. You have it in front of you, but just kind of give you a basis of what's going on. So the first week is kind of just intro to development, real estate development basics. So some of our key topics include that are committed to investors versus developers versus builders, and an overview of Augusta's development environment. Our subject matter expert will either be, it'll be one of our land bank leadership or a seasoned local developer. And then our deliverable for the adult participants will be a field type selection worksheet. For the team participants, which you should have a team curriculum in front of you, the assignments are a little bit more social media based and shorter, something to keep their attention. And their assignment will be make a short video or post describing what type of developer they want to be and why. The ultimate outcome for this week is that students understand what kind of developer they want to be. You'll also see our syllabus, the reading assignments, but I'll hold you just on the chapter up. Going into week 2, the theme is understanding the land bank site selection. Topics include, but are not limited to, how the land bank authority works, inventory review, acquisition process, and neighborhood indicators of readiness. The guest subject matter expert will also be land bank staff or someone from city planning and zoning. The deliverables will be a land bank parcel shortlist with 3 parcels and a site capability snapshot. For the team participants, the assignment will be to choose the locations and create a post explaining the pros and cons of building near each location. So the thought there is pros and cons of building near a school versus a church versus a park, things like that. The ultimate outcome is that the student can confidently identify and abide the land law. Moving on to week 3, we'll go over development types, rehab versus new construction. Key topics include, but are not limited to, new rehab makes sense, new construction basics, understanding building codes, etc. Our guest subject matter expert will be a rehab specialist with new construction experience. We've met a lot of those types of people through our land bank. I'm sure you probably did a couple of properties through rehab specialists. Our deliverables are concept plan summary, and then comps research for the year. For the team participants, on to building the budget and schedule. The key topics include, but are not limited to, development cost categories, construction timelines, cost per square foot, fundamentals. Our guest subject matter expert will be a general contractor or construction estimator. The deliverables will be a preliminary development budget and a high-level construction schedule. And for our team, participants, role play creating a detailed budget for their development. Of course, it can only be so detailed, so fairly so clear what it takes, but we want to get them familiar with how to plan something, how to estimate how much something is going to cost and plan out what plans to have. The outcome is that students can estimate, not guess, the project cost. And that will be our halfway project, of course. Then we'll move on to week 5. And we'll go over financing the deal and building the capital stack. The key topics include, but are not limited to, debt versus equity, construction loans versus permanent loans, and understanding long-term risk. Our guest subject matter expert will be a banker, a CDFI, or a public finance professional. And the deliverables will be a capital stack diagram, sources and uses statement, and a finance and strategy narrative. For our team participants, their assignment will be to role play financing and development using a mix of personal, investor, and loan funds. And not listed here, we'll also ask them the benefits and the benefits of each one. So the outcome for this week will be that the students understand how things actually do. Week 6, we'll go over crowdfunding and raise capital. The key topics will be crowdfunding versus syndication versus partnerships, and legal boundaries. Our guest subject matter expert will be a crowdfunding platform or legal professional, and our deliverables will be a one-page investment summary or a project pitch deck. For our team participants, their assignment will be to record and post a short video pitching their development to investors. So we're looking for role play assignment. The outcome is that students can clearly communicate project work. For week 7, we'll go over managing construction and professional teams. For papers in reality, the key topics include, but are not limited to, hiring, managing, drawing schedules, change orders, and simulation. Our guest subject matter expert will be a project manager or construction attorney, and the deliverables will be a construction management plan, professional team roster and role. For our team participants, they will pitch you problems that could go wrong with the home build and describe how they would solve them. And we give them a list of problems they can choose from, so they don't have to guess. And the outcome is that students will have supervised, not just one. And then finally, for week 8, we'll go over punch list, closing, and long-term hold strategies. Our key topics include, but are not limited to, punch list and final inspection, sell versus rental decisions, refinancing, and speculation. Our best subject matter expert will be a real estate attorney or property manager. The deliverables include a final development package and a 5-minute project presentation, so this is kind of like a capstone. And then for our team participants, their assignment is to create a company name, logo, and slogan, and make a launch post on social media. The outcome is that the student is land bank ready and fund ready. These are our broad outcomes and goals for this program. We want people to be able to select a viable parcel, and build a realistic development budget and schedule. It's simple, a basic capital stack, is a project for crowdfunding, manage construction, and close out and stabilize the rental for long-term hold. And then at the end, of course, we said there will be a post-course graduation event at our development conference. If you've ever been to the conference, you know, we have a lot of opportunity to add another event there. We have a lot of networking events within, so that's like a real lot of that. And our conference will be a good place for these network and create those partnerships to actually see their project through to completion. I think I did it all.
If I may, Mr. Chair, this is a statement I prepared to close out, and then we'll open for things. So we know that what we're proposing aligns with the mission. I'll say on paper. So our mission is to identify, improve, reactivate, and redistribute vacant and dilapidated properties for housing, economic, and civic purposes. But that mission doesn't just stop at that mission, as I noted before. It requires that we activate the property, because the reality is we can control the inventory, but we didn't control the outcomes. We have measures in place for the board to be able to take property back in through the right of reentry, but we weren't positioning land banks return hundreds of properties back into productive use, transforming vacant and abandoned parcels into new tax contributing lots to the local economy. We supported new construction and rehabilitation efforts that have increased housing inventory and stabilized neighborhoods. We facilitated the removal of lighted structures, eliminating safety hazards, and improving the physical landscape of our communities. And through responsible redevelopment and occupancy, we contributed to the reduction in crime in areas that were once left vulnerable. But what we've also done, and specifically through this program, is something that's going to be less visible. It's grassroots community development. We're creating an opportunity for local residents, small developers, and community partners to take part in rebuilding their own neighborhoods. We're opening an avenue for people to return to their community and have a positive impact on it immediately. That impact is the reason that we do the work. It's not theory-based. It will be quantifiable, it will be tangible, and it will be real. Not just real in the property, but real in the revenue. The core of this program is about alignment of our mission with the people. We're aligning now the land with the people. We're aligning opportunity with preparation. We're aligning mission with measurable results. So what then is my close? We're identifying opportunities. We're improving knowledge and capacity. We're reactivating both people and property. And we're redistributing assets into productive community use. That's the goal of Parcels 2 portfolio. Don't just buy land, learn how to build.
Okay, board members, questions, comments?
You mentioned an application, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, did we
No,
discuss?
yes, please.
You mentioned the application process. How are you going to recruit? Is there a fee to participate? Is this a free program? How many participants? Can you share more of that?
We'll start with the number of properties that we're able to show that are going to be available. We're going to have an application process that we will have our internet company, business consultants help us to form on the website. If you've ever visited the Land Bank website, now you do the application online, submitting your documents. It will show that property is no longer available for anyone else to submit. That became necessary because our practice has been first come, first served. But we had an instance that we brought before the board and were corrected by the chair, it's corrected by, that we can't bring you two applications simultaneously. So rather than time stamping paper, his consultants was able to rectify that. The application submitted, no one else can go after it. We'll take that inventory of properties and make it available for them to then situate in a similar format so that when an applicant does go after a property, it is no longer available for anyone else. So it follows practice but uses the AI. As for the fee for the project, we do plan to charge for the land. Right now, we're looking at $2,500 for participation. That will cover fees for application and as well as closing costs, and then some form of return depending on the valuation of the lot to the land bank itself. But the bigger thing for us, because these are excess properties from the foremost, some others may be added, it's getting inventory out. So we're reducing overhead costs, maintenance. We're helping community by not having complaints on property that we're holding, reducing insurance costs and then liability costs. Coming out of Helene, we had a lot of damage take place on some of our lots. It's going to be good to be able to get those out of the land banks. So families, as they go through this process, will also be working with our IT team to build up that application and at the post-course graduation is when selections will begin.
Sean, so we got an 8-week course. Is that self-paced, or each week we're gonna have a course? And if that's the case, what happens when you miss a course?
So 8-week course, pre-course kickoff is also mandatory. Post-course graduation is gonna be optional. You ain't gotta turn your task in, you got your diploma. But what we are going to ensure is that there will be an opportunity to miss one class. I mean, the reality is you can't not be there and participate in this program because we believe that the amount of persons that want to participate in the education is gonna be greater than the number of persons we can take. We're not gonna burden the board with the possibility of 50 people coming in and 30 lots available. That is not the ambition. So if you miss more than one class, unfortunately, we're gonna have to look to recruit you into another year.
And what happens to my money? So let's say I missed one and I paid my $2,500. I'm kicked out of that particular session. What happens to that $2,500?
So we have a non-refundable application fee process that we institute now that has board has an agenda item, application fees are non-refundable. Once the board renders a decision, administrative fees are non-refundable. We are open to the board saying they want to have a cutoff date or stopgap to where fees no longer will be refunded at a point in the course. But I was approaching it from the way our policies read today, that if you sign up and you fail to meet the requirements for graduation, that is a non-refundable fee. The reason partly for that is because it may be the last class that you miss, and you've got the majority of the education to receive a full refund at that point.
Questions?
So to be able to meet was customary for our conference, which is normally the first week of October. We have to start by the beginning of July. We got a little grace by the end of June that we might be able to do the pre-course kickoff. There's some work that we need to do with legal so that we have language appropriate. There's work we need to do with IT. So today we want to make sure that the board heard this presentation so we can start that. We hope to be able to open up applications in May and conclude that same month so that we can start late June. We're giving ourselves a little bit of grace.
So from a legal standpoint, this is both for you and Mr. Mann, what do you need from the board? What's your expectation of the board?
Today it is for information. Unless the board has any reservations that need to be addressed in greater detail. Anything that we need to bring you back by way of staff to remedy any concerns that you have, we have the time to do that. We can work on this throughout the entirety of this month and a portion of next month to ensure you're comfortable with what's going to go out to the community. Aside from that, we're going to be working with John in order to ensure that there's no liability on the organization or you as individuals.
So the team part, I'm a little confused about how the team would get into this program. Would it be part of the tech? Would you speak on that?
Yes, so the goal was to be able to do multi-generational learning. The vision of the program is not just for mom or dad in a household to go and for someone to do with that. It created more accountability because for the young person in the household to complete their portion of the homework assignment, they gotta understand what the subject matter expert was covering. They gotta understand the reading assignment, so it forced parents to work with their kids in the education. That way they meet each week's delivery. Their portion being assigned to them specifically was to keep the young person engaged. So I'm not just sitting there while my mom or my dad's on the computer. I now have something that I have to produce to move us to the next step. And so then at graduation, we're hoping that that young person has retained enough that it gives them some additional insight into future considerations. You know, the grandiose talk is maybe that person then decides, I want to be a doctor. I think I want to do real estate. Or minimally, because mom and dad want a duplex, as opposed to just getting a regular house, that residual income from rent could fund some portion of those future aspirations. I understand how to do property management. I understand the cost of owning real property and the need to be responsible to my tenants. I might not want to do that for a living, but there's equity in that unit that can launch the business that I am dreaming of. We want it to be something that can have that multi-generational effect, because then you might not lose our best and brightest to brain drain when they visit UGA. They may say AU's good enough because I live in my dad's other unit. It's to make sure that it continues to cycle.
All right, this is the Chris Johnson keeping it real part. I don't have kids, or my son has football practice. My child has some other extracurricular activity that they typically do on those days. Now what?
So, because it's geared to household, and because the number of properties is going to be limited, I anticipate we're going to have more applications than we will availability. And so we will have some screening process. I won't discriminate on persons that are single individual that households. That's not fair to them. But we do have that other piece that we're looking for. So we'll have to institute prioritization in the application. And then once those priorities are met, if there's still lots available, we can begin to screen for those other persons. Or the board desires to flip that and say, I want it to be open to everybody, and that individual that has no children or has no children in You gotta go do the social media piece, and you gotta go do the other part. Hopefully that encourages communication with other family members. So, I mean, I have kids, I have a niece, I have a nephew, I have a cousin. Maybe then I'm bringing them in under the banner of my house in one payment in order to help them get that education.
Questions, comments?
Most of you are receiving information, all the staff on a great idea, and encourage you to keep going.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Ryan Downs to accept the information presented by Mr. Edwards and Ms. Jones on the parcel to portfolio project. It's properly seconded by Mr. Shabate Vassar. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. I want to thank Mr. Edwards and Ms. Jones. I think this was an excellent presentation. And then certainly I know we've got things to do. You know, for those who may not be aware, the purpose of the land bank is to take vacant, underutilized, tax delinquent, blighted properties and get them back in the tax roll. We do that in a multitude of different ways. That has actually been seen by over the past year, the different people who are getting into, or coming to the land bank and getting properties. And so this is another way of getting folks, especially those who are local, help them to understand what the land bank does and actually help them fulfill their dreams of investment as it applies to property. So we thank them for what they have done. If there's no other items for discussion, meeting adjourned.